Well, hello again, and welcome to another recording of Super Mario 2 on the NES speedrun. Unfortunately, I kind of tinkered with the sound settings a little before recording this, so the actual game audio is way too quiet. I don't think you'll be able to hear it sort of with me also commentating over the video footage itself, so that'll be drowned out way too small in the mix. But this was a fairly satisfying run. I don't want to give any spoilers in terms of times or whatever. There was one previous run I had put on my YouTube channel running through Mario 2. This was, of course, one of the games that I practiced a bit for the Nintendo Speedrun Big 20 number 17. And Mario 2, it was probably one of the more nostalgic games to me. I had certainly had this game as a child. I remember beating this game as a child and being kind of disappointed with the ending, but we'll get to that more with that later on the end of the video. But yeah, part of the rule set for the Big 20 run was it was a Mario only. There are several characters you can play in Mario 2, and they all have different properties in terms of their jumping, their move speed, their the speed picking up objects. And Mario is actually considered one of the slower characters. He actually runs slower than Toad and Luigi. Luigi has the bonus of being able to do these massive arcing jumps. So, but you know, I mean, Mario was probably my favourite character as a kid. I don't really remember playing much as Toad or Luigi. Peach was good as well, Princess Peach, because you could use her special ability to kind of like float over jumps rather than having to time them as well. I actually had a horrible 1-1 here. 1 minute 24 for the first stage is not a great start. I have been since mucking around since doing this full finish run. I've been able to do 1-1 in 1 minute 15 seconds, which would have actually been really nice to pull off in this run, as you'll see why towards the end. But and if you've seen my first run through, it's very similar. There's a few less deaths. I actually don't lose a life, I think, until level. It's either 7-1 or 7-2. It's certainly one of the 7 levels. So, reasonably happy with it. I think I found a new, slightly time saving method in this screen. You're not even actually meant to see the screen when you're doing a speedrun. There is a technique where that first flying carpet enemy at the start, there is a sort of bug you can exploit to use that to zoom over the top of the level and completely skip all these sections and just emerge right here. So you're easily knocking about a minute off this stage. I did try and use it. I didn't feel confident with it. So in the end, I sort of just decided I'll take the normal method of flying over the top of the screen there. But there are various other methods. I mean, the time I get here, it's nothing like any kind of competitive world record time or anything. But the main point is that I got there in the end. I mean, when I was doing the Big 2017, my aim with most of the games was just get to the end. Any kind of illusion of a competitive time or so on were just not that likely. Now, this level's probably one of my favourite ones to run in the entire sort of warp zone Mario 2 run, because it's so short. You can do it in about 26 seconds. I thought I was saving myself a second there by chucking that potion early and going up through the door rather than waiting till I was on top of the warp pipe. But 6 and 2 threes. I haven't reached the point with Mario 2 where I'm worrying about saving a spare couple of seconds here and there. I still felt, even doing this run here, I still felt quite just get to the end. As long as I can get to the end, hopefully not lose any lives, and do it smoothly. And then the great thing about speedrunning is once you're comfortable knowing that you can get to the end consistently, then you can start worrying about things like the magic carpet bug to try and skip forward. This turned out to be one of my favourite stages by this point. I hated it at first just because of the slowdown that you get sometimes, the kind of unpredictability of the enemies moving on the ice. But as with any speedrunning of a game, you do it enough times, you get like the optimal way, and I've figured out by this point, always just carry something to walk up and kill that last enemy and make life easier for yourself. Actually, strange little bug. I only found this about sort of reading out about tips and tricks for speedrunning Mario 2. Toad, one of the characters you can play, he's actually considered the main character for doing any percent runs where you're not limiting yourself to which character you're going to use, because he runs faster if he's holding an object. And that was a silly point of damage I took there, and I remember thinking, I hope this doesn't cost me, because although 6-1 through to 7-2 are difficult being the latter stages of the game, 4-2, I was having a lot of struggles with 4-2 at some points. You can see, well, you can't actually see here, but I think the average time I had for this section was way higher than all the rest, just because I had a tendency to die on this little moment here, I suppose. And there's ways you can sort of riskily jump right through here and just jump on top of the Shy Guys' heads and jump right over the water fountain. But I didn't find it particularly easy. It's just this sort of level where you don't want to start losing extra lives and wiping and so on. And as with anything, take your time the first few times you're learning the run, and by the time you get to the point where you feel competent, then you can start worrying about knocking off extra frames here and there. So, yeah, well, a little bit disappointed the audio didn't record here. NES audio being what it is, it can sometimes feel like it's drowning other sources of audio out, even though it's not as loud, if that makes sense. Just, the chip tune nature and sort of some high-pitched noises that you get in the NES soundtracks, they do make it, they do tend to kind of fill the room, I suppose, compared to just like audio commentary or anything like that. I was a little bit nervous about this room. Not gonna lie, I think I actually take damage from these Shy Guys in this sort of pot where I'm digging down, which I might be wrong, but I think that was the first time I ever took damage on this screen. So I took a hit there, and then sort of panic slightly as I fall down the sand shaft a little bit. But I wasn't too bothered. Once you get out the pot, you can lose a second by chucking this key here and avoiding him, but it means you're not going to lose a life and wipe out. Now I seem to remember dying on this boss too, and quite quickly too, so it wasn't too much of a worry in terms of a time save. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I think that was a previous run actually. This one I kind of just took my time a little bit. And again, like in terms of like saving time, these Birdo fights, there's always quicker ways to do them. Sort of running up, grabbing the mushroom, chucking it through Birdo, jumping on the other side, using the invincibility frames that you get as you're picking up an item. You're able to let fireballs and bullets and so on pass through you. One of the actual advantages of playing Mario with that is he has more frames to pick up an item than most of the other characters. So someone like a Toad, because he picks up items so quickly, you really have a lack of invincibility frames to make use of, which makes, in particular, the Birdo fights quite difficult. This level 6-2, this is the one where if you see people doing an any percent run of Mario 2, they'll usually pick Luigi, because there's a crazy strategy you can do where you just basically run and jump all over these birds that are flying right now, and you can jump literally your entire way to the end of the stage in 20-25 seconds, something like that. But because this was a Mario only run, that wasn't something I was worried about, and it looked like a crazy strategy to try and learn. Although the time save was quite impressive. There you see how you get the invincibility frames if you are if a projectile passes through you as you're picking up an object. There, I tried to get the third quick shot quickly to try and end him, in a reasonable time. Didn't quite do it, but I knew I had that insurance of the level almost ending where I could take that extra hit, so I wasn't too bothered about just trying to swiftly get through that Birdo fight. And you can actually see from my life split percentages in the bottom right there, I'm actually setting personal bests for stages 4-1, 4-2, and 6-1, which in a way is not surprising. By this point, I'd started the run so many times. I mean, realistically, it was probably maybe like 15 times tops, I would imagine. So the likes of like levels 1-1, 1-2, and 1-3, I felt I'd ran those enough where I was never really going to get a personal best out that section. Whereas you can see the gold numbers on 4-1, 4-2, and 6-1 mean that I did the best ever 4-1, 4-2, and 6-1 that I'd ever done while I was in the middle of this run. So I was super happy about that. I mean, with speedrunning, you'll run a game so many times that it becomes rare to see improvements on your best ever times, and at that point it just becomes more about consistency. I actually took down Birdo surprisingly quickly here. Sometimes struggle with that one just because of the hole. You can fall through to the lower level. You can maybe end up blocking the egg shots with that mushroom. And we go on to the snake fight. I should really learn who the snake is by this point. I thought I was going to avoid that damage, but no, I did not. And again, another awkward little bit of slowdown whenever you jump up and he shoots all his fireballs at you. But I just want to take a little bit extra time here. Almost got hit by that end shot as the snake gets pushed out. But in the end, it was enough to get almost personal best. Oh no, I wasn't quite a personal best, but I was very close to my personal best. And here we go, 9 minutes and 20 seconds into the run. We're on to 7-1 and 7-2. These, as you can see from the live split time down at the bottom there for 7-2, this little jump here, I'd been trying to jump sort of like over the bird's left hand side and on top of it, rather than round the bird's arse, if you will, and then on top of it that way. And you had to be super quick to get that charge jump out to do it, whereas if you waited to jump sort of over the bird and land on his back, you saved a good Well, it just seemed easier. It wasn't really about saving time. You probably lost your time if anything. This screen is a massive bugbear of mine. This is the one where if you play as Luigi, you can essentially just jump all over these clouds and skip having to do this section here where I'm running through this little area. I think this was actually probably the first time I ever did this section without taking any damage. And I did have to pause for a couple of seconds there to take out that bullet shy guy, but I was super happy with that. Normally, I struggled on that specific screen to the point I considered just ditching the Mario only thing and doing a Luigi run just to be able to use his super jump to get over that area. Again, this was another section where these kind of, I'm not even sure what you would call these enemies, but they caused me a lot of bother in previous runs. I would constantly try and take them all out rather than just avoiding one. Lost a lot of time on this screen with the ladders. I think I was just maybe getting a little bit nervous that my times were looking good and trying to maybe push it a bit too hard. So in the end, yeah, I probably lose, I don't know, maybe something like 10 seconds just mucking about on these ladders, and then I take a hit from the bullet, which is not ideal, going into the last section of stage 7-2. Or 7-1, I should say. Well, this is the boss fight, and to be honest, the difficulty here is you only get given one projectile to throw at the boss, but as long as you take your time, make sure to avoid all the fireballs, which I think I do here. I don't think there's any danger that I die here. In fact, I think no, my best 1 minute 58 for this split, so nowhere near my best. And I actually end up dying here. First death of the run, I think. I should have 2 extra lives if that's the case. It is, yeah. So yeah, it'd be nice to get in here as Large Mario. I could have done this much quicker. Used that extra point of damage as a sort of insurance, like I do here. I didn't worry about taking that damage because I know the minute you go through this birdo or bird portal, whatever you want to call it, that you'll get taken to 7-2 and you get your life reset. And you can see here from the bottom section where it says 5:24 for 7-2. That was the fastest I'd done 7-2 at this point. This is the last stage in the game, so as you can imagine, the hardest stage in the game as well. But I felt fairly well practiced going into this. There is a particular screen I will point out coming up where those same energy balls that gave me problems with where you had to stack up the mushrooms. But I'd played it enough where I sort of knew exactly what to do. Maybe not to do it the quickest, but certainly to get through it the least stress. These little guys, they're a bugbear of any speedrunning attempt because, they force you to slow down and stop and pause and wait for an opportunity to get through. So that was less than ideal. I think it's this next screen. Oh, well, this screen, I think I end up pausing for just way too long. And I think I actually run into the... Do I? I think I just ran at the wrong time, got nervous, thought I was wasting too much time, and in the end, that's a silly life to lose, but it only cost me... Well, I mean, it cost me enough time, let's be honest. Probably only something like, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds, something like that, but that's enough when you're trying to, get to the end and save a bit of time. This screen here was a real problem for me while learning the game until I realised what the best way to get through it was, which just consists of jumping on the right hand side and really never stopping moving. Just whenever there's a spare bit of ground, you get up and avoid those energy balls. This I actually found easier than the previous screen, just because I don't know the way you have to move. I knew that I could just get over there, and once you jump over that guy there, you're pretty much in the clear. And onto the last couple of screens of the game. There's no real need to pick up that POW block and throw it down. I mean, it's a second's time tax, I suppose, but you're not really going to get anything out of it unless maybe you're on 1 heart and you get lucky and destroying those enemies causes a second heart to spawn. First 2 shots were really good with Birdo here, but then I think I wasted a bit of time trying to get the 3rd shot off. Got a bit nervous as I was getting really close to the end here because this is the last door before the final boss. Never got damaged by that guy with the key. Well, second last door I should say actually. Again, there's ways to quickly just jump over here, but I didn't want to wipe or lose now that I was in 7-2 with a fairly competitive time on the board. No, I've forgotten again. You've got this little sort of fake fight, and I remember this caught me out as a child. I still remember walking up to this little bird gate, thinking it was fine, and then it turns out it's actually an enemy, and it does some damage to you. But I think I actually do the fight reasonably quickly here. Not super quick. There are quicker ways, like using the 2 mushrooms, but to get him out the road and then get into the final boss room at 14:38 on the clock, I was feeling quite happy about this. Now, this is Wart. He's the final boss of the game, and he can be a bit of a time killer. Just the way that you attack him kind of necessitates you see how he opens his mouth to spit out those bubbles at you? That's the only time you can actually throw a vegetable at him and hit him. So there's kind of like a risk-reward factor of you wanting to damage him while also wanting to avoid the bubbles he's shooting at you. So I ended up not getting a particularly quick time for the wart fight. Reasonable, but not quick. Certainly far faster than my previous segments. I think you have to get 5 hits on him with the vegetable. And a little bit of RNG involved here, where if you manage to catch the umbrella, catch the turnip and get across to him before he shoots out more balls at you, then you get that extra chance to put on a bit of damage. I think I take a hit at some point in this stage, actually, because I was a bit nervous about dying at one point. Although you do respawn right in this room, I would have to start the water fight again, which is not something you want to do in any speedrun, but especially in the last boss of the game. And that was the killing blow. That ended the final boss fight. And time, just like it did in the Big 20, I didn't officially stop time until the cork was pulled on this this warp pipe here. And that gave me a final time of 15:57. Under 16 minutes, which I was super happy with. You can see my some of best segments there is 16:09. So I'd love to do it a minus 15-minute time. I think it's possible, but considering saving 9 seconds on all my best segments, I think that'd be quite a challenge. But that was my Mario 2 run under 16 minutes, a new personal best, and I think I can finally lay it to rest. Although I would love to push for the under 15 to get just under 16 there with Mario only, which is about, to give you some idea, about twice half the speed of a world record. I think Cool Kids did this in like 8 minutes and 11 seconds, something like that. But that was my personal best for Mario 2, and I really enjoyed that one. And I'll be speedrunning more games on this channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.